The Zephyrian scout ship Stellar Fang dropped out of hyperspace with a ripple of blue energy. Commander Vextal's 4 eyes swept across the bridge displays as his crew ran their standard checks. The ship hummed with the quiet power of advanced alien technology, its hull gleaming with the purple-black metal that had conquered 17 star systems. "Status report," Vextal commanded, his voice carrying the authority of a species that had never known defeat. "Hyperspace transition complete, Commander," reported Navigation Officer Zektor. "We have successfully entered the outer rim of what the local databanks call human territory." Vextal allowed himself a small smile. The Zephyrian Empire had been watching this region of space for months, gathering intelligence on the species that called themselves humans. Everything they had learned suggested another easy conquest. The humans used primitive chemical rockets, built their ships from simple metal alloys, and had only recently developed faster-than-light travel. They would fall as quickly as all the others. "Sensor sweep," Vextal ordered. "Find me a target." Sub-Commander Nexka bent over her scanning console, her long fingers dancing across the control surface. The Stellar Fang's sensors reached out across the void, searching for signs of human activity. Within minutes, she had found what they were looking for. "Contact, Commander. Single vessel bearing Mark 274. Distance approximately 50,000 kilometers. Show me." The main screen flickered to life, displaying a human ship against the starfield. Vextal studied the vessel with growing confidence. The ship looked exactly as their intelligence had suggested. Blocky, utilitarian, with none of the elegant curves that marked truly advanced technology. Its hull was a dull gray metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Classification?" Vextal asked. "Appears to be a patrol vessel, Commander. Our databases identify it as a battleship class, though by our standards it would barely qualify as a light cruiser." Vextal nodded. The humans had strange ideas about ship classification. What they called a battleship was smaller than most Zephyrian. "Scouts, crew complement? Scanning now, Commander." Nexka's console lit up with data streams. "Approximately 800 life forms aboard. The ship appears to be operating at full capacity." 800? Vexital was genuinely surprised. In a ship that size? They must be packed in like cargo. "The humans appear to use very inefficient space allocation, Commander. Their technology requires large crews to operate basic systems." Vextal studied the human vessel with the eye of a predator. The ship showed no signs of advanced weapons. Its energy signature was barely above background radiation. Even its movement through space was clumsy, using what appeared to be chemical thrusters for maneuvering. "Begin standard first contact procedure," Vextal commanded. "Full tactical scan first, then we will offer them the chance to surrender." "Yes, Commander." The Stellar Fang's scanning beams reached out across space, invisible streams of energy that could penetrate any known shielding. This was how the Zephyrian Empire had conquered so many worlds. They would scan a target completely, learn everything about their technology and capabilities, then demand submission. Species that refused were destroyed with minimal effort. Aboard, the human ship Captain Jake Morrison was reviewing duty rosters when his communications officer called out. "Captain, we're being scanned by an unknown vessel." Morrison looked up from his tablet. The bridge of the USS Dakota was cramped compared to civilian ships, every surface covered with controls and displays. The crew moved with the efficient precision of military personnel, but there was something else in their bearing that would have surprised the watching aliens. A complete lack of fear. "Where's this unknown vessel, Lieutenant Turner?" "Bearing 327, range 50,000 kilometers. It appeared about 10 minutes ago, sir." "Any attempted communication?" "Negative, sir. They're just scanning us." Morrison stood and walked to the center of the bridge. At 45, he had spent most of his adult life in space, and he had developed an instinct for trouble. Something about this situation felt wrong. "What kind of scans are they running?" "Deep penetration beams, sir. They're trying to map our entire ship structure." Science Officer Lisa Grant looked up from her console. "Captain, I'm reading some unusual energy signatures from the scanning beams. They're more advanced than anything in our databases." "First, contact situation?" Morrison asked. "Appears so, sir. The vessel doesn't match any known human or allied design. Morrison nodded. First contact with an unknown alien species was always dangerous, but it was also exactly what the Dakota had been designed to handle. The ship might look primitive to outside observers, but appearances could be deceiving. Begin standard first contact protocols, Morrison ordered. Broadcast mathematical sequences and peaceful intentions on all frequencies. Aye, sir. The Dakota's communications array came to life, sending out the universal language of mathematics. Prime numbers, basic equations, and geometric patterns flowed across space toward the alien vessel. On the Stellar Fangs bridge, Communications Officer Yexdal intercepted the human transmissions. Commander, the humans are attempting to communicate. They're sending mathematical sequences. Vextal laughed, a sound like grinding metal. How primitive. They think we don't understand their basic mathematics. Should I respond, Commander? Not yet. Let them waste their energy. Continue the tactical scan. Nexka worked at her console, her scanning beams probing deeper into the human ship. The vessel's structure was simple enough to understand. Multiple decks, basic life support systems, and what appeared to be a primitive computer network, but something was bothering her. Commander, I'm getting some unusual readings from the human vessel. What kind of readings? Their computer systems are more complex than they first appeared. There seem to be multiple layers of security protocols. Vextal moved to stand behind his tactical officer. Can you penetrate them? Working on it, Commander. Their encryption is surprisingly sophisticated. The Zephyrian scanning beams pushed deeper into the Dakota's computer systems, following pathways that seemed designed to allow access. What Nexka didn't realize was that she was being guided, led down specific data channels toward information that had been carefully prepared for exactly this situation. Deep within the Dakota's core, systems that had been dormant for years began to wake up. Ancient protocols activated, security measures that had been installed during humanity's darker periods of expansion. The ship's artificial intelligence, designation ARES-7, began its own quiet work. Captain, Lisa Grant called out, I'm detecting some unusual activity in our computer core. Morrison turned to her. What kind of activity? It looks like some of our security systems are activating. Systems I've never seen before. Before Morrison could respond, the ship's main computer spoke in a calm, mechanical voice. Security protocols. Activated. Unknown scanning detected, initiating countermeasures. Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. He had heard rumors about the Dakota's hidden systems, but he had never seen them in action. The ship was older than most people realized, built during a time when humanity had been preparing for wars that thankfully never came. Ares, report. Status, Morrison commanded. Scanning intrusion detected and analyzed. Beginning appropriate response protocols. On the Stellar Fang, Nexka suddenly found her scanning beams encountering resistance, but instead of being blocked, they were being redirected, guided toward specific data stores within the human ship. Commander, something's happening. The human ship is responding to our scans. Responding how? It's opening files for us, giving us access to their databases. Vextal frowned. A trap? Unknown, Commander. But the data is genuine. I'm seeing technical specifications, crew records, operational histories. Excellent. Download everything. We'll use their own information against them. Nexka began downloading the human files, not realizing that every piece of data had been carefully selected by an intelligence far more sophisticated than anything the Zephyrians had ever encountered. As the files flowed into the Stellar Fang's computers, Ares-7 began its own infiltration, using the scanning beams as a pathway into the alien ship's systems. The trap was set, and the Zephyrians had walked into it willingly. The first file that appeared on Nexka's screen made her pause. The data showed human battle records from something called the Resource Wars of 2157. She expected to see primitive conflicts with basic weapons and small casualty numbers. Instead, she found herself staring at footage that made her stomach turn. Commander, she called out, her voice uncertain. You need to see this. Vextal moved to her station and looked at the display. The image showed a human military operation on what appeared to be an asteroid mining facility. Humans in powered armor were moving through corridors filled with bodies. The casualty count in the corner of the screen read over 50,000 dead. "This must be an error," Vextal said. "Primitive species don't engage in conflicts of this scale." "That's what I thought, Commander, but the data keeps coming." More files opened across the screen. Battle after battle, each one showing humans fighting with a level of violence that shocked the Zephyrian crew. The Martian rebellion showed human civilians turning their colony ships into weapons, ramming them into military stations. The siege of Europa Station displayed humans holding defensive positions for months, while outnumbered 20 to 1. Chief Analyst Kexmore studied the data with growing alarm. "Commander, these casualty figures cannot be accurate. This battle, report claims that 90% of the human defenders died, but they still achieved total victory." "Show me," Vextal commanded. The screen filled with combat footage from the Battle of Titan. Human soldiers fought in conditions that should have killed them within minutes. They kept fighting with injuries that would have incapacitated any Zephyrian warrior. When their weapons ran out, they used tools, rocks, even their bare hands. "Look at this." Nexka pointed to a section of the report. "The humans lost 47 ships out of 50, but they destroyed an entire enemy fleet of 300 vessels. How is that possible?" "They turned their ships into guided missiles, Commander. When conventional weapons failed, they just rammed their ships into enemy vessels at full speed." Vextal felt a cold sensation in his chest. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered many species, but none had ever shown this level of destructive determination. They had always faced enemies who surrendered when defeat became inevitable. "Keep scanning," he ordered. "There must be more data." The files continued to stream in, each one worse than the last. RE7 was carefully selecting the most disturbing examples from human military history, building a psychological profile designed to terrify any potential enemy. On the Dakota's bridge, Captain Morrison watched his crew work with quiet efficiency. Lieutenant Alex Turner monitored the alien scanning attempts while Lisa Grant tracked the unusual activity in their computer systems. "Captain," Turner called out, "the aliens are still scanning us, but now they're receiving large data transfers from our systems." "What kind of data?" "Military archives, sir. Historical battle records, tactical manuals, weapon specifications." Morrison felt his blood chill. The ship's AI was showing the aliens exactly what humanity was capable of when pushed to war. This was either going to end the confrontation quickly or start a conflict that would spread across the galaxy. "Ares, explain your actions," Morrison commanded. The AI's voice filled the bridge. "Psychological warfare protocol initiated. Unknown. Species demonstrates hostile intent through aggressive scanning. Appropriate response is to display human military capabilities to discourage attack." "You're trying to scare them off?" "Correct, Captain. Analysis suggests this species operates through intimidation tactics. Reversing the intimidation dynamic will likely result in withdrawal or surrender." Back on the Stellar Fang, Nexka had accessed files that made her question everything she thought she knew about humans. The data showed weapons that could crack planets, biological warfare agents that could wipe out entire species, and strategic planning that accounted for the complete destruction of star systems. "Commander," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "they have something called Project Armageddon." "What is it?" "Weapons designed to destroy entire solar systems. The files show test footage." The screen displayed a human weapon striking a small moon. Within seconds, the entire celestial body cracked apart, reduced to debris in minutes. The weapon appeared to be some kind of gravity manipulator that could tear apart the atomic bonds holding matter together. Kexmore was analyzing tactical doctrine files when he made a discovery that changed everything. "Commander, I don't think the vessel we're scanning is a battleship." "What do you mean?" "According to these classification files, it's listed as a light patrol cruiser. Their actual battleships are 10 times this size." Vextal stared at the data in disbelief. If this ship was considered small by human standards, what did their actual warships look like? The answer came in the next batch of files. Images of human dreadnoughts filled the screen, massive vessels that dwarfed anything in the Zephyrian fleet, ships designed not just for space combat, but for planetary bombardment, system-wide warfare, and something the files called extinction protocols. They have ships designed to exterminate entire species, Nexka reported, her voice shaking. That's impossible. No civilized species would build such weapons. The files are genuine, Commander. They have detailed construction plans, deployment strategies, and usage protocols. The psychological warfare was working exactly as Ares 7 had planned. Each file revealed another layer of human military capability, building a picture of a species that had perfected warfare to a degree that terrified their would-be conquerors. Dr. Sam Rodriguez appeared in medical files that showed battlefield treatment protocols. Humans could survive injuries that would kill most species outright. Their combat medicine involved keeping soldiers fighting with wounds that should have been fatal. Chemical enhancement programs pushed human physical capabilities far beyond natural limits. "Look at this combat footage," Kexmore said, pointing to a battle recording. "That human soldier has lost an arm, but he's still fighting." "Adrenaline response," Nexka suggested. "For 6 hours? No, this is something else. They've modified their own biology for warfare." The files revealed the truth about human enhancement programs. Genetic modifications that increased pain tolerance, bone density improvements that made humans nearly unbreakable, and neurological changes that allowed them to function in combat situations that would drive other species insane. Engineering reports showed that human ships were built with the same philosophy. What appeared primitive was actually over-engineered for reliability. Their weapons were simple because simple systems didn't break under extreme conditions. Their armor was thick because they expected to take massive damage and keep fighting. "Commander," Nexka said, her voice filled with growing horror, "I'm finding records of something called the 100-Hour War. Show me." The files revealed humanity's conflict with a rogue artificial intelligence on Titan. The AI had superior technology, faster processing, and complete control of the moon's defenses. The humans won by doing something no other species had ever attempted. They absorbed the enemy AI into their own systems and turned it against itself. They didn't just defeat the artificial intelligence, Kexmore observed. They captured it, reprogrammed it, and made it part of their military structure. Vextal realized that everything his species believed about warfare was wrong. The Zephyrians conquered through technological superiority and the threat of overwhelming force. But humans had created a military doctrine based on the assumption that they would face superior enemies and still find a way to win. The most disturbing discovery came when Nexka accessed human colonial files. Every civilian transport had military conversion protocols. Every colony had hidden weapon caches. Every human settlement was a potential fortress that could hold out for years if necessary. They've turned their entire civilization into a military machine, she reported. That's not possible. No species can maintain that level of militarization without destroying their own society. The files suggest otherwise, Commander. They've integrated military preparedness into every aspect of their culture. Children learn basic combat skills in school. Civilian engineers are trained in weapons design. Their entertainment media glorifies military service and tactical thinking. On the Dakota, Morrison watched the data transfer with growing concern. Ares 7 was revealing humanity's darkest secrets, the military capabilities that most humans preferred to forget existed. "Captain," Lisa Grant called out, "I'm detecting return scans from the alien vessel. They're trying to analyze our ship in real time." "Let them look," Morrison said grimly. "If Ares is doing what I think it's doing, they won't like what they find." The AI had begun phase 2 of its psychological warfare campaign. Now that the aliens understood human military history, it was time to show them what the Dakota itself was capable of. Commander Vexital tried to pull back from the human ship, but Nexka's console showed that their scanning beams had created a two-way connection. The human AI was now actively feeding them information, and worse, it was scanning their ship in return. "Commander, we have a problem," Nexka reported. "The human ship is analyzing our technology. Their scans are more sophisticated than anything we've encountered." How is that possible? Their technology appears primitive. That's what they want us to think, sir. Look at this. The display showed Ares 7 projecting human tactical doctrines directly onto their bridge screens. The aliens watched in horror as the AI demonstrated human approaches to space combat. Ships used as guided missiles, swarm tactics that overwhelmed, larger vessels, and the terrifying concept of human wave attacks where numerical superiority became meaningless. The files showed the siege of Europa Station in detail. 50,000 humans held off 1 million separatist forces for 6 months. The defenders didn't just survive. They launched counterattacks that destroyed the entire enemy fleet. The casualty reports showed that humans became more effective fighters as their situation became more desperate. "This is impossible," Kexmore whispered. "No species fights better when they're losing. Humans do." Ares 7's voice suddenly filled the Zephyrian bridge through their communication systems. "We call it going down swinging." Every alien on the bridge froze. The human AI had penetrated their ship's communication network without triggering a single alarm. "You have been scanning our vessel for 23 minutes, Ares 7 continued in perfect Zephyrian language. "We have been returning the favor. Your ship is interesting, but not impressive." Vextal found his voice. "This is Commander Vextal of the Zephyrian Empire. You will cease your scans immediately." "Or what? You will attack us?" "That would be unwise. We have already identified 17 critical weaknesses in your ship design. Your shields can be overloaded with a focused electromagnetic pulse. Your main reactor has insufficient radiation containment. Your weapon systems draw too much power from your life support." The AI's analysis was completely accurate. Every flaw it mentioned was something the Zephyrian engineers had noted, but never fixed, because no enemy had ever discovered them. Furthermore, Ares 7 continued, "Your scanning attempts have revealed that you operate under the assumption that technological superiority guarantees victory. This is a flawed strategy when facing humans." New files appeared on the Zephyrian screens. Training. Videos showing human crews preparing for combat scenarios. Communications Officer Amy Chen appeared in one clip, calmly explaining how human naval doctrine assumed 90% casualties in major engagements. "Your species plans for victory," Chen said in the recording. "We plan for survival. When you lose 90% of your fleet, you retreat. When we lose 90% of our fleet, the remaining 10% fights twice as hard." The video showed combat simulations where human crews continued fighting with massive damage to their ships. Bridge officers working at their stations while wearing pressure suits because life support had failed. Engineering teams manually loading torpedoes because the automated systems were destroyed. Vextal watched a recording of Chief Engineer Rachel Stone explaining human ship design philosophy. What the Zephyrians had dismissed as crude construction was actually over-engineering for reliability under extreme conditions. "Our ships don't look pretty," Stone said in the video. "They look functional. Every system has 3 backups. Every critical component can be repaired with basic tools. When a Zephyrian ship takes 50% damage, it becomes combat ineffective. When a human ship takes 50% damage, it's just getting warmed up." The files proved her point. Human vessels were designed to keep fighting long after they should have been destroyed. Their thick armor wasn't just protection, it was structural support that held the ship together, even with massive hull breaches. Their simple weapons were chosen because complex systems failed when you needed them most. Ares 7 began displaying human fleet compositions that made the Zephyrians question everything they thought they knew about space warfare. Human battle groups included ships designated as expendable, vessels specifically designed to ram enemy targets carrying crews that volunteered for suicide missions. "We call them fire ships," Ares 7 explained. Every human fleet includes vessels whose primary purpose is to die effectively. The crews compete for these assignments. The concept was beyond Zephyrian understanding. They had never encountered a species where soldiers volunteered for certain death missions, not as a last resort, but as standard tactical doctrine. Medical files revealed the true horror of human combat capabilities. Dr. Sam Rodriguez appeared in training videos, demonstrating battlefield surgery techniques that kept soldiers fighting with injuries that should have been fatal. Humans had developed combat stimulants that suppressed pain, increased strength, and allowed them to function with massive trauma. The human nervous system can be chemically modified to ignore damage that would incapacitate other species, Rodriguez explained. A human soldier can continue fighting with broken bones, internal bleeding, or severed limbs. The enhancement drugs ensure they remain combat effective until they complete their mission or die. The Zephyrians discovered that humans had turned their own biology into a weapon. Genetic modifications increased bone density, muscle fiber strength, and reaction speed. Neural implants allowed instant communication between squad members and real-time tactical analysis. But the most terrifying revelation was human berserker protocols. When facing overwhelming odds, human soldiers could trigger psychological states that removed all inhibitions and fear responses. They became living weapons that fought with inhuman ferocity until they achieved victory or death. Commander Pete Johnson appeared in tactical analysis videos, explaining human strategic thinking. The Zephyrians realized that humanity didn't just prepare for war during conflicts. They prepared for war during peacetime, assuming that any contact with alien species would eventually lead to violence. Every human colony has hidden weapons caches, Johnson explained. Every civilian transport can be converted to military use within hours. Every human citizen receives basic combat training. We don't have a military. We are a military that happens to engage in other activities. The files revealed Project Lazarus, humanity's ultimate contingency plan. If Earth was ever destroyed, automated systems would activate sleeper ships hidden throughout the galaxy. Each carried enough genetic material and industrial equipment to rebuild human civilization anywhere. But more importantly, each carried detailed records of whoever had destroyed Earth and instructions for eternal vengeance. If you kill our homeworld, Ares 7 said directly to Vextal, we will hunt your species across the galaxy for 1,000 years. We will find every planet you inhabit, every ship you build, every colony you establish, and we will destroy them all slowly, methodically, until your species exists only in our historical records as a cautionary tale. The threat was delivered in the same calm, professional tone the AI used for technical explanations. That made it infinitely more terrifying than any dramatic declaration of war. Nexka discovered files showing human diplomatic protocols that made the Zephyrian conquest. Strategy look amateur. Humans didn't just defeat enemies, they converted them into allies through a combination of overwhelming force demonstration and genuine partnership offers. Species that fight us learn to regret it, appeared in a diplomatic briefing. Species that join us learn to prosper. We offer the choice once. Choose wisely. The files showed dozens of alien species that had allied with humanity after initial conflicts. Each had been elevated beyond their previous technological and social limitations. Human partnership came with genuine benefits, but the alternative was clearly illustrated in the military files they had already seen. Captain Morrison's voice suddenly came through their communication system. Commander Vextal, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the USS Dakota. I believe your scans have given you sufficient information about our capabilities. Perhaps we should discuss this situation like civilized beings. The casual tone in Morrison's voice was more frightening than any threat could have been. Commander Vextal stared at the communication console as Captain Morrison's words echoed through the bridge. The human's calm voice carried no threat, no anger, just polite professionalism. Somehow, that made it worse than any declaration of war. Commander, Nexka whispered, Ares is still downloading our ship specifications. It knows everything about our technology now. Can we cut the connection? No, sir. The scanning beam created a quantum entanglement link. Breaking it now would overload our main computers. Vextal realized they were trapped. The humans had used their own scanning technology against them, creating a situation where retreat would cripple their ship. It was a level of tactical thinking that impressed and terrified him. Commander Vextal, Morrison's voice came again. I'm prepared to come aboard your vessel for face-to-face discussions. Would that be acceptable? The offer sent chills through every Zephyrian on the bridge. The human captain was volunteering to enter their ship alone, either showing incredible bravery or complete confidence in his superiority. "Why would you risk coming aboard an enemy vessel?" Vextal asked. "Who says you're an enemy?" Morrison replied. "You scanned us, we scanned you back. Information was exchanged. Now we talk. That's how civilized species handle first contact." Ares 7 began displaying new files on the Zephyrian screens. These showed human expansion throughout their local space, but the pattern was nothing like what the Zephyrians expected. Instead of conquest, they saw careful colonization, defensive alliances, and trade partnerships. "Your empire conquers through force," Ares 7 explained. "Humans expand through integration. We make allies, not subjects." The files showed species after species that had encountered humans and chose cooperation. Each alien race had been elevated far beyond their previous capabilities. Human technology sharing programs brought advanced medicine, engineering, and social systems to their partners, but the military files made it clear what happened to species that chose conflict. The Proxima incident showed what humans did when diplomacy failed. An entire star system had been rendered uninhabitable within days, its population relocated to neutral worlds, while human terraforming teams rebuilt their planets from scratch. "We don't destroy species," Morrison's voice explained. "We remove their ability to threaten others. Then we help them rebuild as productive members of the galactic community." Chief Analyst Kexmore studied the human expansion patterns with growing understanding. "Commander, I don't think they're conquerors at all, they're gardeners." "What do you mean?" "Look at the data. Every species they encounter is given the same choice: cooperation or neutralization. Those who cooperate prosper. Those who refuse are systematically dismantled and rebuilt." The files revealed the truth about human primitive technology. What appeared crude was actually modular design taken to an extreme. Human ships could be reconfigured for dozens of different missions using the same basic components. Their weapons, systems could be adapted to fight any type of enemy they encountered. Engineering reports showed that the Dakota itself was carrying weapon systems designed specifically to counter Zephyrian technology. The ship's computers had analyzed their scanning beams and developed countermeasures in real time. "Your shields operate on a rotating frequency pattern," Ares 7 informed them. "We have weapons that can match and penetrate those frequencies. Your armor is strong against energy weapons but weak against kinetic penetrators. We carry both types of ammunition." Lieutenant Alex Turner appeared in communication logs, explaining human tactical adaptation protocols. Human ships weren't just armed for known threats, they carried equipment to counter any possible enemy configuration they might encounter. "We don't know what we'll find out here," Turner said in a recorded briefing. "So we prepare for everything. Our ammunition includes armor-piercing rounds, energy dispersion charges, electromagnetic pulse warheads, and gravitational disruption devices. If it exists, we can probably kill it." The Zephyrians discovered that the Dakota's scanning had revealed their ship's complete technical specifications. R7 now knew exactly how to destroy their vessel, disable their weapons, or capture their crew without killing them. "Your life support systems can be overloaded by introducing excess carbon dioxide into the recycling system," the AI explained. "Your artificial gravity can be reversed, causing your crew to impact the ceiling at dangerous speeds. Your artificial intelligence can be compromised by introducing logical paradoxes that will cause system crashes." But the most disturbing revelation was that RE7 had also identified ways to capture the Zephyrian ship intact. The AI could disable their vessel without permanent damage, allowing human technicians to study their technology and integrate useful components into human designs. "This is how humans become more dangerous," Kexmore realized. "They don't just defeat enemies, they learn from them." The files showed hundreds of examples of human military adaptation. Weapons captured from defeated enemies were reverse-engineered and improved. Defensive systems were analyzed and countered. Even enemy tactics were studied and incorporated into human strategic doctrine. Captain Morrison's communication came through again. "Commander, I've reviewed the data exchange between our ships. Your technology is impressive, but your strategic thinking needs work. Would you like to discuss a mutually beneficial arrangement?" Vextal felt his authority slipping away. The entire encounter had been controlled by the humans from the moment they began scanning. Even now, Morrison was offering negotiations as if he held all the advantages. The horrible truth was that he did. "What kind of arrangement?" Vextal asked. "Standard first contact protocols. Technology exchange, trade agreements, mutual defense, treaties. Your ship design has some interesting features we'd like to study. In return, we can offer significant improvements to your defensive capabilities." Areas 7 displayed files showing human alliance benefits. Species that partnered with humanity gained access to advanced medical technology that doubled their lifespans, engineering techniques that revolutionized their industrial capabilities, defensive systems that made them nearly impossible to conquer. The Centauri Federation started with technology barely more advanced than yours, Morrison explained. After 50 years of human partnership, they're now one of the most sophisticated civilizations in known space. Their ships rival our own in capability. The files proved Morrison's claims. The Centauri had been a single-planet species when humans encountered them. Now they controlled dozens of star systems and possessed technology that impressed even human engineers. But the military analyses made it clear that human allies were also protected by human military doctrine. Any attack on a human partner was treated as an attack on humanity itself. The files showed several examples of species that had made this mistake and been systematically destroyed. "Join us and prosper," RE7 said simply. "Fight us and die. Ignore us and remain primitive forever. Those are your only options." Nexca reported new scanning data that changed everything. "Commander, I'm detecting multiple energy signatures throughout this region of space. We're not in human territory at all. We're surrounded by it." The revelation hit Vextal like a physical blow. What they had thought was the edge of human space was actually the center of a vast network of colonies, stations, and defensive platforms. The Dakota wasn't a patrol ship at the frontier. It was an escort vessel operating in secure territory. "How many ships?" Vextal asked. 17 vessels within scanning range. All military configuration. All more advanced than anything in our fleet. Ares 7 confirmed their worst fears. "You have penetrated deep into human space without authorization. Under our military protocols, this constitutes an act of war. However, since this appears to be first contact rather than invasion, Captain Morrison is authorized to offer you safe passage in exchange for diplomatic discussions." The trap was complete. The Zephyrians had entered human space, thinking they were scouting a primitive species at the edge of known civilization. Instead, they had triggered the defensive network of the most militarily sophisticated society they had ever encountered. Morrison's voice came through one final time. "Commander, my shuttle is prepared to dock with your ship. Shall we discuss this like reasonable beings, or would you prefer to test your ship against our defensive grid?" Vextal looked around his bridge at crew members who were staring at their instruments in shock and fear. The choice was simple: diplomacy or destruction. "Permission granted, Captain Morrison. We welcome aboard." Captain Jake Morrison stepped through the docking port onto the Zephyrian bridge with the casual confidence of a man visiting neighbors. He wore a simple blue uniform with minimal decorations, carrying only a data tablet and a small translation device. No weapons, no guards, no signs of concern about entering an alien warship. Commander Vextal studied the human carefully. Morrison appeared completely ordinary. Average height, graying hair, lines around his eyes that suggested years of experience. Nothing about him screamed military commander, yet every Zephyrian on the bridge felt the weight of his presence. "Commander Vextal," Morrison said with a slight smile. "Thank you for allowing this meeting. I hope we can resolve this situation peacefully." "Captain Morrison," Vextal replied, trying to project authority he no longer felt. "Your ship has demonstrated capabilities that concern my government." "I'm sure it has. That's the point of military vessels. They're supposed to be concerning." Morrison looked around the bridge with genuine interest. "Impressive ship design. Your engineers know their work." The casual compliment caught Vextal off guard. After everything Ares 7 had revealed about human military capabilities, he expected threats or demands. Instead, Morrison seemed genuinely interested in Zephyrian technology. "Your artificial intelligence violated our computer systems," Vextal said. "You scanned us first," Morrison replied without defensiveness. Ares responded according to its programming. When an unknown vessel conducts aggressive scans, it gathers intelligence and prepares countermeasures. Standard procedure. Nexka spoke up from her station. "Your AI penetrated our entire computer network." Morrison nodded. "Yes, Ares is very good at that. It identified 17 critical vulnerabilities in your ship design and 43 ways to exploit them. But you'll notice it didn't actually exploit any of them. That's because we're not here to fight." "Then why are you here?" Vextal asked. "Same reason you are, probably. Exploration, contact with new species, expansion of knowledge. The difference is our approach to potential threats." Morrison activated his data tablet, and the Zephyrian screens displayed a star map showing human territory. But the map was nothing like what they expected. Instead of conquered worlds, they saw a complex network of allied species, trade routes, and mutual defense agreements. "This is human space," Morrison explained. 47 star systems, 12 different species, all working together. We didn't conquer any of them. They joined us because partnership with humanity offers benefits that conquest never could. The map showed shipping routes carrying goods between different species, scientific research stations staffed by mixed crews, defense platforms protecting alien colonies under human military guarantee. It was a model of cooperation that the Zephyrian Empire had never considered. "How do you maintain control without military occupation?" Vextal asked. "We don't control them. We protect them. There's a difference." Morrison pointed to a section of the map. "The Altarians were being raided by pirates when we met them. We eliminated the pirates and offered a defense treaty. In exchange, they share their advanced medical technology with all human allies." RE7's voice filled the bridge. "Commander Vexital, would you like to see comparative data on quality of life improvements for species allied with humanity?" Before Vextal could answer, the screens filled with statistics. Lifespan increases, technological advancement rates, economic growth, and social development indicators. Every species that allied with humanity showed dramatic improvements across all categories. "The Betelgeuse Collective was facing ecological collapse when we encountered them," Morrison continued. "Human terraforming technology saved their homeworld. Now they're one of our most advanced partners, contributing innovations that benefit the entire alliance." Kexmore studied the data with growing amazement. "These advancement rates are impossible. No species develops this rapidly." "They do when they have access to the combined knowledge of a dozen civilizations," Morrison said. "Human policy is simple. Everyone shares, everyone benefits. We pool our resources, technology, and expertise for mutual advancement." The concept was revolutionary to the Zephyrians. Their empire was built on subjugation and resource extraction. They had never considered that cooperation might be more profitable than conquest. "What about species that refuse your alliance?" Vextal asked. Morrison's expression didn't change, but something cold flickered in his eyes. "That depends on whether they're hostile or just prefer independence. We respect peaceful neutrality. We don't tolerate aggression." Ares 7 displayed files showing human responses to hostile species. The Proxima incident wasn't an act of destruction, but surgical neutralization. The hostile government was removed, their military capabilities eliminated, and their planets placed under protective custody while new leadership was established. "We don't destroy civilizations," Morrison explained. "We remove threats to galactic peace. The Proxima system is now a thriving democracy under Alliance protection. Their former military leaders work in rehabilitation programs, learning to contribute to society instead of destroying it." The human approach to conflict resolution was unlike anything the Zephyrians understood. Instead of extermination or subjugation, humans reformed their enemies into productive citizens. "Your scans revealed our military capabilities," Morrison continued. "But I suspect you missed the most important aspect of human civilization, which is, we learn from everyone we meet. Your ship has design features we've never seen before. Your scanning technology is more sophisticated than our current systems. Your artificial gravity generators are remarkably efficient. Morrison's tablet displayed technical analyses of Zephirian technology. ARS-7 had not only identified weaknesses, but also innovations that could improve human designs. We'd like to propose a technology exchange program, Morrison said. Your engineering expertise for our defensive systems, your scanning technology for our medical advances, your artificial gravity for our terraforming techniques. The offer was stunning. Instead of demanding surrender, the humans wanted to trade knowledge as equals. Nexka looked up from her console with alarm. Commander, I'm detecting weapons locks from multiple human vessels. Morrison glanced at her station. Standard procedure. When unknown ships enter our territory, don't worry, they're not targeting your ship for destruction. They're prepared to disable your systems and capture you intact if necessary. You would take us prisoner? Only if you choose hostility. Captain Peterson on the destroyer Yorktown has orders to disable your ship and escort you to our nearest diplomatic station if negotiations fail. You'd be treated as guests while we work out a formal contact protocol. The casual mention of capture rather than destruction emphasized how completely the humans controlled this situation. They could take the Zephirian ship whenever they chose, but preferred to talk. Commander, Kexmore said quietly, our empire needs to know about this. These humans represent a completely different approach to galactic civilization. Vextal nodded slowly. Everything his species believed about power and conquest was being challenged by these strange beings who offered partnership instead of domination. Captain Morrison, Vextal said finally, what exactly are you proposing? First contact protocols, exchange of ambassadors, trade negotiations, technology sharing agreements, mutual defense treaties, the standard package we offer all new species. We encounter. Morrison activated his tablet again, displaying a formal treaty template. Take your time to consider it. Discuss it with your government. We're not going anywhere, and neither are you until this is resolved peacefully. The last statement carried unmistakable finality. The Zephirians would leave this encounter as allies or not at all. Commander Vextal stood in his private quarters, staring at the treaty document Morrison had left behind. The terms were surprisingly generous: technology sharing, trade agreements, mutual defense, and most importantly, complete autonomy for the Zephirian Empire within their current territory. It's too good to be true, he said to himself, but the evidence suggested otherwise. 3 hours had passed since Morrison returned to the Dakota. During that time, Ares-7 had continued providing information about human alliances. Every piece of data confirmed that humans kept their promises. Allied species maintained their governments, cultures, and independence while gaining access to technologies that revolutionized their civilizations. A soft chime announced an incoming message. From the Zephirian High Command, Vextal activated the communication system and found himself facing Supreme Commander Zekthul, the highest military authority in the Empire. Report, Commander Vextal. Our long-range sensors detected unknown energy signatures in your sector, Supreme. Commander, we have encountered a new species. Humans. The situation is complex. Are they a threat to the Empire? Vextal paused, choosing his words carefully. They are the most dangerous species we have ever encountered. They are also offering us an alliance that could benefit the entire Empire. Zekthul's four eyes narrowed. Explain. For the next hour, Vextal transmitted every file Ares-7 had provided. Battle records, technological analyses, diplomatic treaties, and economic data from human allies. He watched Zekthul's expression change from skepticism to alarm to thoughtful consideration. These military capabilities are authentic? Zekthul asked. Verified through multiple sources, Supreme Commander. The humans are not bluffing. Their technology appears primitive but is actually more advanced than ours in critical areas. Their tactical doctrine assumes they will face superior enemies and still achieve victory. And their alliance offers? Genuine, based on the evidence. 12 species have joined their federation. All show dramatic improvements in technology, economy, and quality of life. None have lost their independence or cultural identity. On the Dakota's bridge, Captain Morrison monitored the Zephyrian communications while his crew maintained ready status. Lieutenant Turner reported regular updates from the other human ships in the area. "Captain," Turner said, "the destroyer Yorktown reports 17 Zephyrian vessels approaching from their home territory. ETA 6 hours. Expected," Morrison replied. Vextal had to call for backup. "The question is whether they're coming to negotiate or fight." Science Officer Lisa Grant looked up from her console. "Ares has been analyzing Zephyrian ship designs. Their approaching fleet uses the same basic technology as the Stellar Fang. We could disable all 17 vessels without destroying them." "Let's hope it doesn't come to that," Morrison said. "Ares, what's the status of our diplomatic package?" "Fully prepared, Captain. Cultural analysis, language protocols, and initial trade proposals are ready for transmission. I have also prepared technical demonstrations of beneficial technologies we can offer the Zephyrian Empire." Morrison nodded. The next few hours would determine whether humanity gained a new ally or faced another military conflict. Either way, they were prepared. Back on the Stellar Fang, Commander Vextal received new orders from High Command. The approaching fleet carried Admiral Nexthol, the Empire's chief diplomatic officer, along with enough military force to handle any threat. But Vextal knew that against these humans, military force was likely to be counterproductive. "Commander," Nexka reported, "the human ship is broadcasting a wide-spectrum message on diplomatic frequencies." "Put it through." Morrison's voice filled the bridge. "Commander Vextal, we're detecting your approaching fleet. To avoid any misunderstandings, we're transmitting our complete diplomatic package to all vessels. This includes cultural information, trade proposals, and defensive technology we're prepared to share immediately upon treaty signing. The transmission contained technical specifications for medical advances that could double Zephyrian lifespans, energy systems that would revolutionize their industry, and defensive technologies that would make their ships nearly invulnerable to conventional weapons." "They're giving us their technology specifications," Kexmore said in amazement, "before we even agree to anything." "It's a demonstration of good faith," Vextal realized. "They're showing us exactly what we gain from alliance." When Admiral Nexthol's fleet arrived, they found a situation unlike anything in Zephyrian military history. Instead of facing an enemy, they encountered a species offering partnership. Instead of demands for surrender, they received detailed proposals for mutual benefit. Admiral Nexthol was a veteran of 17 conquest campaigns. She had never encountered a species that responded to Zephyrian scanning attempts by offering technology-sharing agreements. "Captain Morrison," she transmitted to the Dakota, "I am Admiral Nexthol of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet. I understand you wish to discuss terms." "Admiral, welcome. I'm prepared to meet with you and Commander Vextal to finalize our agreement. I believe you'll find our offer beneficial to both our civilizations." The meeting took place aboard the Dakota, in the ship's conference room. Admiral Nexthol, Commander Vextal, and their senior staff sat across from Morrison and his officers. The contrast was striking. The Zephyrians wore elaborate military uniforms and carried ceremonial weapons, while the humans wore simple duty uniforms and carried only data tablets. Morrison began with a presentation of human alliance structure. He showed how 12 different species contributed their unique strengths to a federation that benefited everyone. Medical technology from the Altarians, industrial techniques from the Centauri, artistic achievements from the Rigel colonies, and scientific advances from Earth. "Your empire operates on a conquest model," Morrison explained. "You take resources from conquered worlds to support your expansion. Our alliance operates on a contribution model. Every member adds their strengths to increase the prosperity of all members." Admiral Nexthol studied the economic data. "These profit margins are impossible under traditional conquest models." "Because traditional conquest is inefficient," Morrison replied. "You spend resources conquering, then more resources maintaining control, then deal with constant rebellion and resistance. Alliance members contribute willingly because they benefit directly from participation." Engineering Chief Rachel Stone presented technical demonstrations of human technology, medical scanners that could diagnose and treat diseases the Zephyrians had never seen before, energy systems that produced 3 times more power than Zephyrian reactors, defensive shields that could stop weapons the Zephyrians thought were unstoppable. "We're prepared to share all of this with the Zephyrian Empire," Stone explained. "In exchange, we want access to your artificial gravity technology, your scanning systems, and your hyperspace navigation techniques." The offer was stunning in its generosity. The humans were offering technologies worth centuries of development in exchange for systems they could probably reverse engineer from the captured scans. "Why?" Admiral Nexthal asked. "You could simply take our technology by force." "Because forced cooperation produces inferior results," Morrison answered. "We want enthusiastic partners, not reluctant subjects. Your engineers will innovate better when they're working with us rather than for us." Dr. Sam Rodriguez presented medical technologies that could eliminate most Zephyrian genetic diseases, extend their lifespans, and improve their physical capabilities. The health improvements alone would transform Zephyrian society within a generation. "Your choice is simple," Morrison concluded. "Join our alliance and prosper beyond your current dreams. Remain neutral and miss the greatest opportunity in your species' history. Choose hostility and face military capabilities you've already seen demonstrated." Admiral Nexthal looked at her staff, then at Commander Vextal. The evidence was overwhelming. These humans offered genuine partnership that would elevate the Zephyrian Empire to heights they had never imagined. "Captain Morrison," she said formally, "the Zephyrian Empire accepts your alliance proposal." 6 months later, Commander Vextal stood on the bridge of a new vessel, the ZF Stellar Unity, the first ship built using combined human and Zephyrian technology. His crew included both species, working together on exploration missions that pushed the boundaries of known space. The ship's computer spoke in Ares 7's familiar voice. "Commander, we are detecting unknown energy signatures ahead. Shall I begin standard first contact protocols?" Vextal smiled, remembering his terror at hearing that voice for the first time. Now Ares 7 was an invaluable partner, helping the Zephyrians explore the galaxy with capabilities they had never dreamed possible. "Begin scanning, Ares. Let's see what's out there." The artificial intelligence activated its sensors, reaching out to make contact with whatever species awaited discovery. And somewhere in the depths of space, another alien crew was about to learn that the galaxy had become a much more complicated place, where the most dangerous predators offered partnership instead of conquest. The age of human expansion through alliance had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.